introduce the run or something?
All right. So this is Joachim S, my good friend from Sweden. Am I going to be okay?
Hmm?
Should I just?
I'll just get in with a quick donation first.
Sure.
I don't know what's going on.
We got a $5 donation from Paisan13. Thanks for a great marathon. ESA always brings the A game. Thank you so much for your generous donation. Every penny, cent, crown, pound, yen, whatever, goes to making ESA a much better event for everyone. And with that said, I guess we're ready to go.
Yeah. Alright. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright. So this is Tropical Freeze. I hope you had enough of glitches and stuff, because this is all execution. Going as fast as possible.
There's not in the way of game-breaking stuff that's actually in the run. There are some glitches in the game, some out of bounds and some other interesting shenanigans, but they actually don't improve the run. So this run is very traditional execution, platforming, your ability to know the stage's layout and react to any subtle changes enemies or miscalculations may throw at you.
And very little RNG.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of RNG in this game, thankfully. So it's a pretty consistent game. The controls are very nice. This game was unfortunately not given that much attention when it was released, but it has since then been getting more and more praise. It's definitely one of the good games to play on the Wii U, definitely worth checking out. So this game, from a casual standpoint, does not involve... I've seen a lot of people playing this game, and for the most part, people will take their time walking around, but luckily, rolling is not only very easy to control, but very fast. It's the fastest way of moving around, and in this game, all of the buddy partners allow you to do an infinite roll. And there are 3 different buddy partners in this game. The first stage starts you off with Diddy Kong. And his abilities that are unique to him is the ability to use his jetpack. So it's the buddies in this game are more like power-ups. You don't really get to play with them individually unless if you're doing co-op. But having Diddy on your back allows you to hover in the air for a short amount of time. So it's a nice little safety net. Having Dixie on your back will allow you to do a very similar hover, but hers actually moves you upwards. So in some ways it trivializes Diddy, but Diddy's strength is actually underwater. We'll get to that in a second. And Cranky's ability when on Donkey Kong's back is to use his cane. Allows him to bounce on dangerous objects, pointy spikes, and dangerous enemies as well. And the first stage is pretty straightforward. Very quick stage. A lot of basic stuff. So it flies by really quick. Like all of these stages are going to fly by within like 2 minutes or so. And Jock started off with Diddy Kong as his, well, he started off single player. There's actually some debate on whether or not you use co-op strats in this game. Personally, Jock agrees with me on this one. It's more natural to just go with the single player route. It is possible to juke the game a bit and start with Cranky Kong. But having Diddy Kong actually does provide a benefit for the second stage. So at the beginning, there's a Dixie barrel where he actually should be, he skips that barrel, and then later on you're going to be using Diddy's underwater ability, which is a rocket boost. Allows him to swim very quickly underwater, and makes up for the fact that co-op strats would use Cranky in the first stage.
Yeah, Cranky only saves like 2 seconds just because of the faster swim, and you have to turn off your second controller basically.
Yeah, when you start out with co-op strats, you actually have to pick Cranky up at the beginning of every stage, and you can't change which Kong you use. So the time that you save is actually lost by having to manually enter the options in Remote Player 2, and it's a whole bunch of jank. It's definitely not comfortable to do.
So in like RTA attempts, it's not that fun to turn on your controller and turn off every time you reset over and over again. It's one of the reasons I don't do it. There are other reasons too, but I'm not gonna go into that now.
Already coming up on the third stage, which is where you would naturally find Cranky Kong. It's actually more of a stage based on Cranky's abilities. So you have a vertical oriented section at the beginning.
Yeah, no Kong is faster vertically than Cranky.
Yeah, there are very few vertical sections in this game, but the biggest benefit to Cranky, he gets as high as Dixie does. But Dixie has to flutter to get all the way up, and whenever you go into your flutter or hover animation with Dixie or Diddy, you actually lose all of your roll speed. Cranky gets to keep that speed, which makes him one of the faster Kongs for every stage. And a very small detail, but if you continuously pogo, instead of constantly roll jumping, every pogo will save a couple more frames than having to start up a new roll animation. There is a small setup to get through that section, damageless, but it is very tricky. Luckily, it doesn't cost a whole lot of time at all. It's just go and pick up a new Cranky after that checkpoint.
Yeah, I misspaced my pogo there, so I got a little, like further behind, basically.
Yeah, I make that mistake every so often myself too. It's really irritating. It's like right at the beginning of the run.
Yeah.
But it's no big deal. And then the fourth stage, kind of wrapping up the tutorialness of the first world, is an auto-scroller. Brings back the classic Donkey Kong minecart stages. The minecart stages are actually pretty fun in this game. And although it is an all-er, I think they're better than they were in Returns. Apart from the ones where you're standing on the minecart in Returns, those are really cool.
They are faster in Returns, so I
yeah,
really agree with that.
That's true. They are a little bit long, mostly because they're kind of timed out. You have to do everything as intended. You can't really like zip across the minecart stage somehow. But there are some ways to speed this up with timed jumping.
Jumping up slopes, etc.
Yeah, the game does a lot of rail management. Essentially, if you're going up a hill, it would make sense that you slow down, but for whatever reason, you know, defying logic, just jump up the hill instead. We keep that same speed. And one of the nicer things in this game compared to Returns is that you actually get multiple hits in auto-scrollers. The minecart and the rocket stages. It was one-hit kill in Donkey Kong Country Returns.
For some reason.
Not particularly difficult, but there are some moments, especially in Returns, with their level design that were a little more unfair in some spots.
Yeah, Returns is generally harder. I run both games, I should know.
Yeah, I started getting into running Returns, and dang, it is... I am so sorry I ever said that that game looked easier in the slightest. It's pretty shocking. But that doesn't make Tropical Freeze necessarily an easier game. The better controls in Tropical Freeze make the platforming much more precise. So it's definitely a much more rewarding, and you can have a lot more patience with this game, that's for sure. And within just, not even 10 minutes, and we're going to be through with World 1 soon, getting up to the first boss.
Thank God.
So this game had its soundtrack reprised by David Wise. He came back and did the soundtrack for this game, and he did a stellar job on all of the audio. Love it to death. These soundtracks are absolutely incredible. I was very shocked listening to the music for the first boss. I actually looked up at the YouTube player the first time. I was like, is this really still a Donkey Kong game?
Right now I'm setting up these fishes so I can hit the last one a bit earlier in the air.
Ah, the early fat ass number 2.
Saves a little bit of time. Just like 1 second if you get both.
Yeah, those bounces off the ramp are a little tricky, but every bit of time you can save definitely helps. World 1 is so straightforward. The runners are definitely trying for those harder execution tricks.
Did a little damage boost there to hit Pompey in the air. This is Pompey by
Yeah, Pompey the Preposterous, one of the 6 bosses in this game. They decided to introduce new enemies for this game, just like they did with Returns. Still no Kremlings. That's okay. These guys all have a lot of character and attitude.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, I got it.
Nice. Something you'll probably never see people do casually is flying up to hit that fat fish way up in the air.
It's actually trickier than it looks.
Yeah, if you don't hit that first one at a specific point, then he's going to take extra time bouncing, and it's going to screw up the setup. You're going to take a lot of damage, and then you risk losing Cranky. You really don't want to lose Cranky. You're not going to see another Cranky barrel for a couple more stages, and we're going to need Cranky for some tricks, specifically on 2-2, and we wouldn't want to start without him on 2-3.
Yeah. So this is scary for me. I don't want to die.
So World 1, kind of a safe world. World 2, gonna be big open pitfalls, like some people are used to with Donkey Kong games. Now, there's an interesting difference between time attack and the actual stage. Time attack for Windmill Hills is actually faster done with Dixie Kong. She actually gets to skip much earlier, middle of the stage. But because Cranky saves so much time in the following couple of stages, RTA we're going to be using him, and the old man is still not too bad for this stage.
I had to hold back there, for I didn't trust my burst bounce there on the little owl.
Yeah, it's better safe than sorry. You really don't want to risk losing Cranky.
It's not over yet. One jump.
This stage also has a nice bit of vertical section. The vertical sections in this game are few and far between, and they are very nice when you manage to nail them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that section where you roll off the little trolley as it's going down, you would actually roll off at the very beginning with Dixie, and her hair will allow her flutter. Cranky just barely doesn't get the chance to make it. Now there's actually a small trick. Whenever you're on a moving platform, you actually can preserve some of that momentum. It's possible to jump off of any moving platform with your roll speed, and the two of them will get combined. These platforms aren't moving so quickly, so it's not going to be very noticeable if you manage to do that. But in the next stage, there's going to be some giant swinging crates, and that's actually a much more difficult trick. We're going to be using our animal buddy. So Rambi actually makes an appearance now. He's finally back, and I wish he weren't. Rambi's controls are a little less than agreeable. It's a bit of a clunky animal. It's a shame, really. Would really be nice if he had the... Missed that, that's for sure. But Rambi's pretty unstoppable otherwise. He just does not take damage. Anything Except for fire. Fire is the only thing that can hurt Rambi, but otherwise he'll just crush spikes, crush all enemies, crush a lot of the obstacles. Honestly, he's a natural hazard to the stage.
Yeah. I guess electricity does too, but there are no Rambi stages with that.
Nope.
It's like Cranky's Cane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cranky pretty much immune to everything except for electricity. A little saddening for a later stage in the game.
Oops.
And fire, yeah. That would be that'd be sick for another stage, honestly.
Right. So now the boosts are coming up.
So the first boost that is possible to do on this stage only saves 1 second. It is just so risky, honestly. It's definitely just like a stupid doo-doo thing. If you fail, it just feels bad. But
Come on.
the second one is much harder to do boost, but it saves you a lot more time.
Don't die. Almost. I don't know, my cane didn't come out there, so I lost all my speed.
Cranky is... Ooh, oh my god, you're scaring me there.
I don't know.
Video's finally catching up to me. So yeah, Cranky's cane is definitely the fastest way of getting around, but it is difficult to control pogos. There are different varying heights of pogos. You have your full pogo, most of your middle pogos, or anything in between, and then you have micro pogos. It's actually it's tricking the game into thinking that you're doing just a regular light hop. It's done for the smallest amount of time, preemptively and post-jump. You have to release it in a very specifically small window. But those are some of the more useful pogos, especially getting you in very narrow places that you're clearly not intended to. So the next stage actually has a pretty cool theme about it, and most of the stages are very thematic, very uniquely thematic. Most stages do not share elements with one another. And this stage, most of the cycles and platforms that are moving around are actually all going to the music. So it's very important, specifically in this stage, to keep pace, as later on there's going to be a section we'd rather just keep rolling through, but without specific setups, you'd be taking damage in doing so.
And my way of doing this stage is a bit different compared to the optimal way.
Yeah, the incredibly optimal way is also a lot more difficult, as was mentioned earlier. Whenever you pogo with Cranky's cane, you're saving just a little bit of time, and that actually does add up by the time you get through the middle section of this stage, where there's a bunch of tucks and pointed ceiling. But luckily, you're actually only missing just only like a second or so in this stage.
Yep, quiet time.
And it's...
Alright. I missed it anyways.
Oh, you missed.
Hashtag blame Moomoo. Hashtag.
So yeah, this is the giant horn, and when we were all doing lots of tropical freeze races, we had a joke where we would all cough, try and throw each other off on this. It's an audio cue about when the horn blows, so that you don't have to wait an extra cycle.
I was a little bit.
Yeah, it was just a little bit. You were pretty close there.
Anyways, what were you saying about 2-3?
Oh, it was just the universal cycle aspect of it. But now you're coming up on 2-4, which has another community-based joke about it. 2-4 is sub 20 or riot. It was the mark of a good run. Trying to get 2-4, 20 minutes had passed. And as we were all racing this, in order to know where we were, there's a certain point in the stage where we'll be yelling machine to identify that we are all there.
I'm not gonna get sub 20, but because I missed the boost and other small errors, but I usually...
Still very close, still pretty good.
So in this stage they got creative and added some vehicles changes along the way.
Yeah, so again, the stages in this game are all incredibly unique from one another. And although this is just another quote-unquote Minecraft auto-scroller, it's very easy to identify which stage you're in at any point just by looking at the elements around you.
Yep.
Everyone knows where they are within a couple glances. And the individual soundtrack, pretty much every stage has its own song. Very few repeats. So once again, shout-outs to David Wise for really doing a bang-up job there.
Only World 7 has to say.
Yeah, World 7 and the Snowmad theme used 3 times in World 6.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's not it's not too bad, really.
They are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Like 6-1 isn't the same as 6-5.
Yeah. And speaking of the themes in the games, they actually do have dynamic themes where some stage elements will change based on where you are, specifically for the whenever you're above land and then you go into an underwater section. 2-6 Alpine Incline, has a section where you're in the mountains and it's kind of like quiet and hushed, and then you go up into a hot air balloon section. The music will change once again.
That's 2-5. And your second best Moomoo, what in the world?
I don't pay attention to stage names all the time. But what I do know about 2-5 is that you're going to be using Dixie. And there's been a lot of Cranky for quite some time, but Dixie is finally going to be only slightly more useful than the old man, so we will be out of forced obligation taking her.
Too bad Ghoul isn't here, he couldn't make it. He loves
Ghoul's
Dixie.
not here. Down talk Dixie all you want.
Yeah.
So Dixie is honestly pretty cool. Dixie's hair floatability does get her over these gaps, and she does have her own unique uses, definitely. More specifically, a lot of people will know her for her Kong Pao ability, which is to turn all the enemies on screen into hearts, and that was used in the run previously. Can still be used for safety if need be, and it's not very time consuming at all.
Yeah, you might see. Depends on me. If I'm good or not. If I'm good, you won't. Sorry.
So that was actually a neat little trick that's it's pretty subtle, hard to tell, but when you roll onto a bouncy object, you can actually keep your roll speed momentum with a timed press. It's only seen a couple times in the run, but he actually did manage to get it straight out the hot air balloon. And there will be another opportunity for that later on in World 3.
Which is much cooler, if you want to use that word. It's more impressive.
Yeah, because you can carry that a lot longer.
Yep.
So now we're actually up to Worlds 2-6.
Yeah.
And this was sort of dubbed another auto-scroller because of the main aspect of this stage. You're going to be riding on a lot of zip lines, so you can't really make that faster, but there is a particularly tight cycle that you can try to meet. You're going to be switching back to Cranky Kong in this stage.
If you time your jumps on these vines, you can get Cranky one cycle early. I'm not gonna try that, because I'm not NKB and I don't grab TD.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible. So the reason why it's important to try and land on your Kong cycles is from the moment the stage loads, all barrels are on a universal cycle themselves, and all of them take 1 second before they do the spin, on rotating barrels at least. And if you happen to be... It's pretty hard, it's pretty tight, it's definitely like frame window. But no errors from the start. You can catch Cranky just 1 cycle early, and because of how late in the cycle it is, you're only saving 2 seconds, rather than the 3 from switching from one Kong back all the way to itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I barely missed that, as you saw.
I'm sure that you got the O.
Oh yeah, sure.
So sad. Ripperino. The Kong letters, on that note, don't actually do anything for the 80% run of the game. They unlock the secret stages if you do so desire, but they are not mandatory in any way for collectibles. Neither are the puzzle pieces.
We do collect them in 100%.
Yeah, 100%. 100% by the game's definition is actually every stage that you complete gives you percent. So you do have to get all of the Kong letters for that and beat all the secret stages. Does still not include the puzzle pieces. That would be more of a file completion sense, a literal 100.
So yeah.
Nice tower climb. Ooh, Swag G, I love you.
Love you too.
And then we are at the second boss, which is I think everyone in the community agrees the second boss is the best designed boss in this game.
Yep. And it has kind of changed into the easiest boss too, in my opinion.
Yeah,
from the hardest to the easiest.
There are some. He's a very consistent boss. He's very skill based. Your execution will net you a very quick kill on this boss, but you can go for slightly more time savvy but much harder tricks. More of those time attack friendly tricks, not really run friendly.
Yeah. I go for a second fast strats. The way
Clearly you're going for quick kill, huh?
Yeah, sure. But I hate that. Yeah, the reason why the most optimal strats are a bit risky is because you could kill these owls you're throwing with Cranky's cane.
Yeah, Cranky's cane is so all-powerful that it unfortunately can kill these enemies that are normally immune to jump damage.
Yeah, she is good.
You have to use a reactive A touch. Normally when you press A, preemptively is when you'd pull out the cane, and that's how you would get your bounces, but you actually have to wait until you see Donkey Kong bouncing. Ooh, that bird toss was pretty scary there.
Oh, I do that every time.
God. If you mistime your throw when Scowl is rearing back like that, you could actually miss. Scowl's box actually just moves out of the way.
Yeah, and I know why.
Missing hits on Scowl is very costly, so he's a very fair boss for speedrunners. So long as you hit all your hits, you're not going to lose time, but his hits are pretty punishing to miss, having to reload another bird.
But that last hit that Moo was scared of was... I had enough speed from the pickup of the owl. So I was high enough to hit him, so I didn't miss. If you go too slow, you will miss. 100% guaranteed. So
the quick kill setup on this boss is actually pretty ridiculous. Something that you definitely want to go check if you look at time attacks for this game. Is you actually basically, it looks like you're jumping into Scowl's ear. The game, one of two things will happen. You'll either take damage, drop the bird on Scowl, and then land on him pretty much at the same time, or you'll throw the bird into Scowl's brain while you jump on him. Both of which look really ridiculous. And the first one is more of an accident. Definitely scares runners when it happens.
Yeah, it happened to me. Technically a gold split, but I didn't take it. It's not right.
Very nice, very nice. So World 2, less than half an hour. Definitely strong pace there. The original goal for this game for a lot of runners, especially people getting into it, was an hour 40 minutes. But so far, especially the runners who've been at it for a while, 1 hour 35 is the more ideal mark of a strong game, at least a decent game.
Yeah.
And now that
whoa,
we're
what? Wait, strats failed me.
Uh-oh.
Or I did something wrong. I don't know.
I will see in just a moment, but the wait strategy he's talking about, this is another sort of universal cycle stage where the music is kind of controlling what's going on here. Oh yeah, I think you were a little too far to the right there.
Yeah.
Because of the stage going to the beat of the music in the background, everything's basically on a 6-second cycle. You do have a small amount of time, a little bit of leeway there. You're trying to catch that, the blue giraffe, as some people call it. Yellow zebras. I love you, NK. This is one of those stages where it is technically possible not to miss a cycle grabbing all the Kong letters, but it is a lot riskier, especially towards the end with the G grab. There's also a quicker finish for the stage. If you fire at the earliest possible moment and still make it into the barrel at the end, you actually land on the left side of the grass, which you need to roll through the grass in order to get the gold barrel to appear.
Yep. I didn't get it. I was a bit too late there.
Yeah, it's a pretty tricky jump. If you're not holding the right direction and you mistime it, you're probably going to end up on top of the snake, which is also much scarier. Another stage with a unique time attack trick. God, I don't want to remember doing that one though.
Oh yeah, riding the snakes.
Yeah. Riding snakes.
Alright.
So,
are we eating today, Moomoo?
the sloppiest of baobabs or the edible arrangements. I would prefer some nice edible things.
Right.
So, baobab bonanza. Giant durians all over this stage. They are actually something that Cranky can, once again, be able to poke off of. And there's a nice, unique trick at the beginning, flower strats. I hope that Jock got it.
I did. You don't have to cook tonight.
Very nice. It's something that you can't do in Time Attack. When you start this stage, you're starting with Cranky. In Time Attack, you actually start solo. There's no barrel until about halfway through the stage, so Cranky actually gets to do the flower section in a pretty cool way.
Right, we're safe. That's a bit scary. There is a safer setup that NKB did, but I don't do that because I don't like NKB.
Wow.
I love NK.
Oh god, off the bull. That that made my heart jump a bit. I don't like doing that.
No. You go behind.
Mm-hmm. I just, I'm too terrified of accidentally getting thrown by those guys. I've had terrible incidents with them.
Yeah, I've been kicked off right into the pit before.
Speaking of NKB, there's actually a puzzle piece that he likes to spawn in that stage, and then you just his goal is not to collect it and jump over it as many times as possible. But I found that collecting anything I can is much more enjoyable. I took the record for puzzle piece jumps, as he said, the world record for that, and I still got it at the end anyway, so I guess it's invalid. But coming up next is 3-3, which has one of the coolest tricks in the game. Just incredibly difficult to do. Definitely another IL stage to check out. These tornadoes here, very finicky and dangerous things, but because they whip you out, if you manage to do a roll jump after getting whipped out by the tornado, it actually pretty much doubles Donkey Kong's speed and allows you to blaze through the stage.
What happened there? Yeah,
It's a super risky tactic, so it's no surprise. I would certainly recommend more people start learning the stage by just going through it. It is normally a Rambi stage too. Rambi's meant to sort of plow through everything. Ooh, oh man, yeah, that's this stage is no joke. It's a pretty difficult stage as it is. The tornado trick is only making it that much harder.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I got hit when I pogoed. I don't know if the cane didn't come out or if I was too late.
Some of the hit detection with Donkey Kong box, especially with the cane, gets incredibly wonky. And Doc happened to jump over a Diddy barrel. You may have noticed that the game has some terrible ideas about which Kong you should be using. Throws Diddy barrels because I swear the developers were like, dang, we really made Diddy slightly useless compared to Dixie. We'll just force him on players every so often.
No, I switched to Dixie. The reason is that she's overall faster at the end of this stage here, when you don't do the do-si-do as it's called, and she's faster in the next stage. It's pretty tricky to grab Dixie in 3-4, even though she's on cycle.
Yeah, it's something you really want to hold on to Cranky as long as you can, but when Dixie's faster, the old man's just got to go, and picking up Dixie right there is the most optimal time. Speaking of the transition from 3-3 to 3-4, way back when, long time ago, we used to do in-game shop, go over to Funky's shop and pick up some items that would help us with the run. But since then, we've developed a lot of different techniques that don't require those anymore. The in-game shop was a 30-second trip, so those tricks had to be incredibly useful in order to compensate. And since then, we've just shaved that time off. But 3-4, Scorching Torch, a very straightforward stage. Lots of roll jumping and fluttering when you need to.
I just want to say...
There is a trick toward the end of the stage known as the fire droplet skip. Also known as complete RNG stupid. Why does it even exist? By some small chance, you may end up getting a fire droplet without getting hit. It saves about half a second and allows you to have double heart Dixie, which is nice. It's just safer. If you happen to lose Dixie while you're in the air, you're SOL. You're probably going to fall in a pit and die, so you got to be a little more careful when you're on one heart Dixie and you need to flutter.
Yeah, I got hit, so I didn't make... I also want to say... Well, a quick shout out to Yay
Yeah, that
Hops.
fire droplet is pretty stupid. Oh, you go under the rope. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they do it in Time Attack too.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Yay Hops and his love for green balloons.
And of course, now we have the best stage in the game, right?
Oh yeah. You need to watch out here. I'm gonna do a frame perfect trick here. That allows me to get stuck at the top of the screen and not take any damage until the secret exit. Let's see if I get it here. I need Cranky. Alright, stop. You wanna talk about secret exits? No? Alright. Okay, I lied. There's no frame perfect trick here. I just hold A here and I don't get hit. There's 3 points in this stage.
I will be telling about the secret exit. Sorry, some audio difficulties right now, but essentially in this stage, this is the first secret exit that we're really taking in the run. You would be normally, if you finish this stage the normal route, you'll be doing some of the other stages in 3.5. This stage actually has 2 secret exits, but the one that we take cuts this stage in half and allows us to go to Bramble Scramble, a very fun and fast-paced stage that allows us to use Cranky to his fullest potential.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I tricked you guys. It was just too good of an opportunity. This stage is so easy that you can just hold it. I don't know what they were thinking there, if they know that's possible or not. But now we're back to going fast again. There are more secret stages.
Hello,
Secret
exit.
Hi. Can they hear me? It's not on my end. Ah, I missed it. Sorry. Yeah, but there's a cool strat with those fungus-like things, just like in 2.5 there, where you get a lot of speed off the bounce and keep that until the next barrel, basically. Oh, I mashed. I was supposed to wait there. Keep cranking. I don't know what's going on with Moomoo there, but this is the third boss, Baboom. This is the first instance of RNG. There are 3 monkeys. I need to hit one monkey 3 times each phase. And now here's the RNG part of the fight. It's all dependent on the monkey on the left, right there, how far down he goes. And he was nice, and I messed it up, but... What am I doing? Yeah, I had good RNG there, but the execution wasn't that good. Which is... last phase here. I'm sorry, I'm a bit distracted by the audio issues. This is a pretty straightforward boss overall. Just need to time your hits correctly and pray for good RNG. Can you hear me? Hi, Ghoul. No? Hello? Anyways, it's World 4. This is all border-based levels, basically. This is where Diddy shines. Try to grab him here. We're here. Why we use him? Again, the jetpack is the fastest way to move on the water. Also the easiest to control too, so that's good. A damage boost there. Make it to the Dixie cycle here, hopefully. I need Dixie here to get a secret exit. That's coming up. And this is Dix's underwater ability. She can flutter with her hair, go against currents. I stopped there because I'm still distracted by Discord problems. On. Right, so that there unlocks the secret exit. And we're going to 4A. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with Discord here. Trying to fix it. Anyways, the second secret stage here. Taking this road is faster than taking the 3 stages on the left there. Even though 4B, that's the next level, is kinda slow. I was trying to go for the DD there, but this is a train wreck. Alright. I don't know what's wrong. I can hear something.
Whoa, there we go.
So
Finally. Wow, that was really weird.
yeah, I don't know, it's Discord. Alright, I still got Cranky here. I'm switching to Cranky here to access the next secret exit area. We'll unlock 4B. Overall, 4B is a slower stage, but it's still faster to do 4A and 4B compared
Right,
to...
you're cutting out the entire stage by doing 4A and 4B instead of 4-2, 4-3, and 4-4. And on top of that, 4-4, while being one of the best stages in the game, is also really long. So overall, it's a lot faster, especially because the load times in the game are so bad. If the loads weren't quite as bad as they are, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but it's still a lot faster to do it, so.
This is
Also, apologies, I got here a bit late, I had some issues that came up.
it's cool. Spike didn't make it either, so... But I had Moomoo. I don't know where Moomoo is now.
Assuming Moomoo is still trying to fix the audio issues, so...
Yeah, I think it was on my end.
Alright. So this is 4B, we like to call this in the community, we call it Troll a Troll. Everybody in the community has at one point drowned in this level for some reason. It's kind of interesting because the older DKC games didn't have any air meter, but for this one they decided to add one in. So if you look to the left of that yellow, or to the right of the yellow bar, you'll see that blue bar. That's his air meter. So if he runs out of air, he's going to drown. In general, this is a relatively safe stage. It's also really long, but there is a bit of a risk of it if he takes a hit early or something that he will drown. Which hopefully doesn't happen because it's a really long level.
Yeah, I won't drown. That's
Excellent.
the beginner mistake, basically.
It's a pretty big beginner mistake, but you never know what'll happen in the marathon setting. Don't drown, please.
I won't.
Beyond that, basically this level involves collecting all these keys to open chests, and once you open a chest, you go on to the next chest until you can eventually open the giant door right there.
Yep.
There are a couple little things in this level. You'll notice that every time you guys do a transition, he'll do a spin. It's just a little bit faster to end on that spin than it is to do pretty much anything else. I believe it also gives you a bit of speed doing it at the next transition, but I'm not 100% on that one.
Yeah, I tried to hold the same direction I had when I go into the doorway. The exit.
Yeah, I did a lot of looking into the room transition. There's a setup for all of the rooms that when you're in the next room, you're already slightly forward. Your momentum has carried you at least partway through.
Yeah, I didn't do it too well here.
Yeah, World 4 is all about, you know, the optimal swimming. The cleaner your swimming is, the more you get out of it. But it's very difficult, even if the game's water controls are pretty agreeable, honestly.
So 4 or 5. Anyone want to talk about that while I concentrate?
Yeah, 4 or 5 is the beginning of the second gauntlet of the run, I would say. There are 3 sort of gauntlets in this game. The first one being 2-1, 2-2, 2-3. This one right here is 4-5, 4-6, the 4th boss, and the first stage of World 5. 4-5 is an incredibly tricky stage in regards to the pace that you have to keep trying. You're going to be switching to a couple of barrels. You're going to be grabbing Cranky at the beginning, switching back to Diddy. There's going to be a cannon shot that requires a specific setup. And Jock's setup is actually the setup that a lot of the runners have switched over to now because of how consistent it is.
Jock.
The Yock Yump.
Shoutouts to Goldfish for being stupid.
That's why you have to love Goldfish. He's like the most lovable one dork ever.
Yeah, I know.
Beyond maybe Yak. Yak is pretty adorable himself, but...
Thank you.
The wonderful, sexy Yock.
Yes!
Inventor, in this stage particularly, inventor of bomb swag galore.
Yeah.
I love your bomb swag. Yeah, the two banger and the quad knob, as they are called. The magical shot will land you from the two banger straight up. Completely ignore the quad knob. It's a terrible device. Just wants to waste your time.
Yeah, I got the perfect level here.
You even got the case here?
This is pretty beautiful.
Very good, man. Very good. So yeah, we used to actually do a lot of different things about this stage, but one thing that we found out about making more benefit out of having Diddy is you can actually jump off the side like he did, flutter around, completely ignore all the crates that you'd have to break. You screw up though, and you fall straight down to your death.
It's pretty nerve-wracking for sure. The trick was originally discovered with Dixie because she can do the flutter up into it. It was an IL trick originally. Cranky was always faster in the IL, but if you look on the IL leaderboards, we could see that Dixie was like right behind Cranky when we were trying to figure out why. Basically, the entire difference was that she could save like 3 seconds at the end, and Cranky has to pound through those crates. Then we said, well, can we do that with Diddy? Because we want to start 4-6 with Diddy because it's another one of those pesky water levels. When I say pesky, they're actually really, really cool because they're probably the hardest levels in the game to optimize.
4-6 is easily the hardest of the swimming levels, even when you take into consideration the other underwater levels that aren't seen in the run.
Right. Like, the way we always put it was that, like, the water levels are not that hard when you start out learning, but if you want to really optimize them and get good, like good swimming in this game is an art, and you just, when it's done well, it looks so good, as I'm sure Moo would agree.
Yeah, and Jock is definitely one of the better swimmers out of all of us in this game. Specifically in this stage, we were talking about barrel cycles earlier in the game, how they're all in 1 second cycle. Well, underwater, they're actually on 2 second cycles, the game's way of being a little more forgiving to players. So if you should unfortunately miss...
Also more punishing for speedrunners.
Yeah, punishing for speedrunners. You miss an underwater barrel cycle, you're missing 6 seconds roughly. And we're trying to refill on Diddy's hearts here. Lots of Diddy abuse in this stage. Getting refills exactly where we need them. And it looks like Jock's had a very clean 4-6. And the stream will catch up to me in a second. Yeah, he did an outstanding job. Didn't miss a single cycle.
Alright, didn't miss a cycle. You'll notice he kept Diddy for the entire time. That is much harder to do than it looks.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those stages I stress to people. Practice this stage. It will make your life a lot less painful when you do World 4.
Definitely.
And then the silliest boss in this game, I would say, based
So
on
everybody's favorite.
Michael Goldfish.
Goldfish has made it one of my favorites just because of how dorky Goldfish makes this fight. But you'll notice we've used basically everybody underwater a little bit. We've used Dixie to go through currents. We used Diddy to just go fast in general. But Cranky's been left out of the spotlight underwater. We're going to kind of show off what he can do in this fight a bit.
Yeah, Diddy super speed, Dixie hair twirl. What has Cranky got? Nice extendo hitbox cane.
Right. Basically, Fugu is this giant puffer fish. He's got a big exposed booty. He's going to protect the booty with the wall, but we're going to hit his booty anyway with the Cranky cane. It really only matters for the first cycle. For the later ones, we have a setup to do it with solo DK if we don't get good RNG. Originally, we used to shop in the route specifically for this fight to make this where we wouldn't lose Cranky in this fight, but we actually learned some interesting things about the RNG in this game. If you only have K and you're down to 1 heart in a boss fight, hitting the boss will almost always give you a heart. So it's actually safe to do this setup that Jock is doing it almost every time. Well,
in super rare cases. And it's pretty much because you got incredibly unlucky. It's actually possible for the heart that Fugu gives you to land outside of the arena. So it technically exists, and if there's already a heart somewhere on the screen, he's not going to give you another one. It's some of the most terrifying bad luck you could ever have.
To clarify, it's only the hearts he spawns, and the hearts that spawn on their own doesn't count.
Right, you can get missed by the hearts he throws out, which has happened to me a couple times as well. It's just a scary fight, especially in a marathon setting like this. So, thankfully, Fugu decided to cooperate.
Yeah. So that was 4-5, 4-6 in Fugu, and now we have 5-1. And the reason why it's still part of this this terrifying midsection of the game is the platforms. Now that we're in World 5, these platforms are very tiny. They're all moving, very easy to miss. Lots of death potential, and we're still trying to catch more partner cycles. One of the cooler partner combinations in this game, you start, whether you have a partner or not, you grab Dixie partway through. This was a time attack combination between Goldfish and NKD. And NK would use Cranky, and it found out that you can actually use both of the strategies. You would actually save the most time in real-time attempts. So Dixie's flutter will save some time, and then you'll use Cranky later on to save even more time.
No trust. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. The spoilers.
I slid off. He didn't want to pound.
So that actually was my fault. I take total blame for that because I made a setup that's still pretty terrifying. This trolley here, it's actually if you stay on the right side of the trolley, but you are doing it inappropriately, then when it gets to the section where the track falls away, you'll actually fall with it. But I found that if you land on the right side and you don't move at all, whatever it is about the way the game loads what's happening next, the track won't actually be out of the way, so you can just stay on it the entire time. Saves you a second, or if you die, it costs you, from the checkpoint.
Right, I saved that, because cycles got thrown off. Alright, we're through at least. Like, kinda have to expect that to happen sometime. It's a hard level. Especially with the physics of this game. For some reason, DK slides with momentum. I don't know why they want a platformer to be that realistic, but it is what it is.
It's kind of been a trademark of the DK games anyway, to just add a bit of weight to DK compared to like a Mario game or something. So, I agree it does cause some issues on occasion, but kind of a trademark of the series, and I guess Retro decided to stick with it a little bit.
Yeah. But it slides away more in this game. Not even Returns is this bad.
I mean, it's tropical freeze, they gotta have some extra ice physics. Anyways, this is 5-2. This is another one of our rocket barrel levels. As I like to call it, this is the Penguinji level.
The Mechatuck, the Gundamized penguins. This stage had another sort of time marker, so we said the 2-4 was the sub-20 riot. For this stage, it's if you can do it in an hour, that's your another mark. That one's actually harder to get though, the hour for 5-2. Certainly much less free after all the trouble you had to go through in Worlds 3 and 4.
Alright. So no, this level is actually a lot scarier in 100%. In 100%, every single one of the puzzle pieces you have is on the other side of a heart. So you can't get any hearts on this to get like all the puzzle pieces or Kongs in one go. Naturally for this, it's not that big of a deal. Jock has done this level many, many times, but in a 100% run, it's a lot scarier.
Didn't Spike come up with the wee little time save at the end of this stage too?
Spike was all happy because it's one of his few contributions for that. Yeah, at the very end of the stage, he's gonna get thrown off the barrel, as happens in every rocket barrel level. And Spike discovered that you could roll and then pogo pretty much off the right wall, and you'll go straight into the barrel as soon as it spawns.
Pretty precise, wee little time save. Something that you, again, really can't do in Time Attack because there's no buddy partner barrels on this stage, so it's something that you can only really make benefit of in RTAs.
Alright.
More importantly, though, about having Cranky right now is the time save that he'll give you in 5-3, which is a pretty fun stage. Lovely music, often very underappreciated music in this game, where there are a lot of already incredible soundtracks. And it's home of the Crunchy Munch.
One tiny little note about this level, we've actually tried to break the IO record on this using a trick, but the problem is to do that trick so you can pause buffer inputs at the start, and when that happens you fly off, but the camera doesn't scroll with you, so you have to do the entire level with no sound effects and completely blind, but in theory you could beat the world record at the level by doing it.
One of those glitches, the chop name.
Nobody has ever actually managed to do it, but we always wanted to do it just so that the #1 time on the leaderboards just has a camera sitting completely still while, like, it just takes off. It's really funny if you haven't ever seen it before. Like, DK just takes off in the barrel and flies off on his own, and then,
Oh, Mr. Shop's negative world.
Yeah.
The Professor Shops, I don't know. Michael Goldfish again, everyone.
The checkpoint peg.
Yeah.
his name is Professor Chops, I think.
Yeah, but
There were like 12 different nicknames I heard of him before Professor Chops was officially stated.
yeah, that was messed up. I don't know what happened. I got hit.
So there's a very strange thing to note about the roll animation in this game. Is it actually very slightly oscillates up and down. It's something that's not really noticeable. It doesn't usually make much of a difference at all in the game, but those gaps are actually big enough to roll over, provided that you're on a very specific part of your roll animation cycle. So if you check out the Time Attack, there's actually the runners in Time Attack are actually rolling straight over these gaps. It's something that you can't really appreciate until you try it yourself and you wonder, why am I always falling in these holes?
Right, this was a train wreck. I don't know what happened in the beginning there, because you're not supposed to get hit by that fish throwing guy there. So
You got one of the Cranky taking, the Donkey Kong taking damage over Cranky.
yeah, I was surprised when Cranky didn't go away.
Shoutouts to the Crunchel edge, which he just did back there a little bit. For some reason, that one little edge of a watermelon is big enough to stand on and pogo on. don't even know how Crunch found that. I think he found it by accident one day.
Rob.
He found it by being the IL king that he is.
Alright.
Oh! Heart attack!
Oh man.
I'm scared. What's happening?
So yeah, the game is definitely going to be much harder, even from like a speedrunner standpoint, where most of the platforming is something that is only tricky until you know the stage. But oh wow, that was pretty close.
Yeah.
At this point in the game, the platforming is going to be a lot tighter. So no matter who you are, it's going to be a difficult game.
Mm-hmm. So this is another hard level.
Oh god.
Right,
So-
so the thing with this level is we need to be able to go through the shortcut at the end to get the fastest route to the end of the game. The problem is there's only one barrel and it's at the start of the level. And we need Diddy at the end of this level to use the shortcut. Diddy or Dixie. We're going to use Diddy because Diddy is slightly faster because of how much water there is in this level.
Or you.
So you'll see he grabbed the Diddy barrel a little bit earlier there, and now he has exactly 2 hits for this entire level before we have to do what we call taking the Jamboree, which is the alternate route through this. It costs about 40 seconds, but I'm sure Jacques isn't going to take us there.
Please don't.
I hope not.
Yeah, the if you just take the straight up difference in time attack versus the stage that we would rather be doing, Jam and Jams, it's certainly a punishing difference on its own, but a lot of us also weren't used to doing Jelly Jamboree. So when we started doing runs of this game, if we ever had to do the Jamboree, we were inevitably stuck there a lot longer death cycling.
But yeah.
Right.
Nice swag bomb throw there. That's a pretty tight throw.
So to know, we're going to get the secret exit with Diddy, but that's not necessarily intended by the developers. You're supposed to have Dixie use her hair twirl. I believe this is the first time we do this in any percent, but we're going to actually use Diddy to get through a strong current. As it turns out, when you do his little jetpack, it pushes you forward a tiny bit in a current, and then you cancel that with the spin, which holds you in place long enough for you to do another jetpack push forward. We can use that to get into the trigger for the secret exit for the level.
The trade-off is Diddy's way to fight underwater currents is much slower than Dixie's. Her natural way of doing it is superior, but because, as Ghoul mentioned earlier, there's so much underwater in this stage that Diddy actually pulls out ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that went kind of well.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Anytime you get through that with Diddy and not losing him, you kind of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, which you really shouldn't do because 5B is in itself a very difficult level. This is one of the very few levels in the game with completely universal cycles. I believe there might only be 2 or 3 of those in the entire game. I might be blanking a bit, but
Yeah, there's only not that many at all.
Again,
as always, universal cycles means the level is a bit more punishing. If you make any mistake, you're going to lose an entire cycle, which I believe in this level is about 4 seconds, if I remember correctly. It's been a little while. I'm sure Moo or somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I did a lot of work on this stage for timing barrel cycles with different ways you can kind of swag out and set things up at the same time.
So to note, he switched to Cranky here. It's not necessarily faster to do that. I think because anytime that he loses here compared to using Dixie or Diddy, who are technically faster, he's going to make up in the next level by not having to grab Cranky, who is a bit out of the way. It might be about a second faster to grab Cranky here from or something like that, but it's almost runner preference.
Yeah, it's somewhat slower on this stage to finish with Cranky just because of the flare that Dixie gives you, but it is faster to have Cranky starting out on Frosty Fruits.
alright! We did it. Yeah, the thing about this level is that everything moves to the music. Right?
Yeah, everything is tied to that same rhythm.
Like 2, 3.
Dangerous to mess up. Oh man, that gold barrel.
I actually missed that in practice. I was kind of surprised. Because every time I've done that, I always hit the barrel. Or not that time. Right, ice physics.
5-6 was the point when learning the run that I realized how much fun ice physics are in this game, and I know everybody's hearing this and thinking ice physics in a platformer, that can't be fun. Ice physics in this game are legitimately fun when they give you ways to stack momentum, and this level gives you plenty of them. You'll notice anytime you start to slide down a cliff, you get a little bit of a speed from that you can tack into a roll and use with the ice. Which you can use Cranky's pogos to add a bit of speed from. There's going to be these giant spring things that are going to push him forward that he's going to use to stack more momentum. It's a legitimately fun level to speedrun.
It's also kind of funny, a lot of people, especially myself, when I first saw the trailers for this game, and I heard the name, you know, Tropical Freeze, I actually thought to myself, this is going to be an entire game of ice levels. This is actually the first one.
They make up for it in World 6, where everything is an ice level, but it's kind of a nice little progression, though, because ice does kind of add that extra challenge to the game. You know?
And by bouncing off that big guy at the end, I get a perfect setup with my pogos.
Shoutouts again to Michael Goldfish.
Burly Ricky Holder. The strongest dong. Well, for now.
I am trying, but has yet to be seen. Especially with DK putting some pressure on me. He's catching up.
Yeah.
So coming up next is Bashmaster, the nice and cuddly. I mean, the unbreakable.
I hate him. I hate him. Whoops.
This is the longest IL in the game, and it's not particularly close. It's like 40 seconds longer than any other individual level.
I'm a use Cranky early.
He also has some slightly more annoying RNG than the other bosses might. The first ice block he drops, if it has nothing in it, then you got good RNG, and the bomb that you throw at him will be in the earlier block.
Yeah, good RNG in this.
If it's in the wrong block, the unfortunate thing is that you have to throw that bomb quickly. Way with it, we skip one of Bashmaster's animations, is by hitting him early, basically interrupting his next attack. The game then remembers what his next attack is going to be, which is thankfully something we can hit him out of. So we save about 20 seconds of him jumping around in doing so.
And I got kind of lucky there, because I messed up the first hit, or I kept Cranky.
That's another bit of luck that you want on this boss fight. Preferably you'd be finishing with Cranky, but it is more valuable to forsake the old man than try to hold on to him. So you're essentially hoping and praying that Bashmaster will keep giving you hearts, because you want to start out the next stage with Cranky. Otherwise, you'd have to wait to pick him up again.
I hate the word swag, but
Yeah, we mess around in this fight a lot because there's a lot of downtime while waiting for him to just kind of expose a hitbox. So you'll see us bounce on top of his hammer and, you know, stand right in front of him, crouch, and do stupid things like that, just to kind of kill a little bit of time. And basically, as long as you hold on the Cranky, it doesn't make any difference for the majority of the fight.
I've definitely tossed the old man trying to show off too many times on my own.
Oh yeah, I think everybody has.
ah, come on.
So this fight's also like really annoying casually just because it is so long. I'm sure most of us, when we played this game the first time, ended up dying on the
Please don't die
before we got the 9th hit.
Instant forfeits.
Alright, so phase 3 is a bit tighter here, but if you let Bashmaster kick you on the block there, you're basically guaranteed to hit him with the bomb. The thing I found out. Makes it a lot easier. Because sometimes he can kind of keep you out with the ice box. Anyways,
Playing baseball right now, right?
Yep.
And Pretty sure I was the one that coined playing baseball with them. I'll take my little, like, 2 seconds of credit there.
Sure. Well, you get some next level, right?
That's also another one of the weirder bits of very slight and minute RNG, but the sooner he does the fake out, it actually is just ever so slightly faster. Just one of those tiny things that we try to focus and appreciate on as the runners.
Alright.
6-1.
The run killer. Poor Spike. And myself lately. Jesus.
I was gonna say, this has been known to take many world record pace runs and just throw them in the toilet. Basically, almost all of World 6, there's probably 2 exceptions, can end up killing your run if you're not careful. This is probably one of the hardest levels in the entire game to do quickly. There's just it's so punishing. Any little mistake, you can end up either in the bottom or losing Cranky. And losing Cranky here is really bad if you're not completely up to date on 6-2, because it'll throw off all of your movement in that level as well.
Yeah, your 1 barrel again will be only at the beginning. The majority of these stages will only offer you 1 barrel from here on out, and a lot of checkpoints.
Miss my shot.
A lot of your checkpoints are going to be, I would say, they're poorly placed. You end up having to go a long stretch only to die just before the checkpoint. Ooh, there's that shot.
I was way too early. I'm not gonna waste more time for that.
So, there's an IL shot on this that saves exactly 0.2 seconds, where you can hit the ceiling, bounce off the guy throwing stuff, and land on the far right side. It's completely stupid, you should never go for it, even in ILs, but it was discovered completely by accident while I was practicing this level one day. We call that, what is that? That's Slamma.
That's
Banana Slamma.
Yep.
I remember that thing.
I thought it was a different trick at the end of this stage, which the end of this stage has a couple of different ways of doing so. Hopefully you have Cranky, because that's the easier one. But you could still get screwed over by the malicious, evil Blue Hoots, as we called it. This Blue Hoots, again, as I mentioned earlier, some of the roll animation barely moving up and down. You can get nicked by that Blue Hoots if you're very unlucky. And being hit out of a roll is particularly dangerous because you can't jump out of a roll if you've been hit out of it. Or if you do, you have to do it during the animation. It's all kind of jank. You miss it, you fall in the pit. You have to go back to the checkpoint.
Unlike Returns, where you can roll through everything.
Yeah.
Returns is good, okay?
What?
It's the one saying that's literally the only one running the game at this point.
Okay, so we have 6-2 right here. 6-2 has my favorite person ever discovering a strat in the game. Some IL runner by the name of Extreme Sexiness found out that we could actually use Cranky to beat this level quickly. That wasn't a known thing.
It's kind of obvious.
It was pretty obvious in hindsight, but there's a lot of big gaps, and we thought, oh, we can use Dixie to flutter over those. Before this was found, I thought this was like the quintessential Dixie level. Never going to be better with anybody else, and then Extreme Sexy just went ahead and proved me wrong.
Sort of started the trend of, oh, that was a Dixie stage.
Oh yeah. Didn't touch on that. Hashtag sad ghoul.
I'm known as the guy that tries to use Dixie whenever possible. I'm the only one that uses her in 3-1 and 3-2 for a potential 2-second time save. Despite the fact that it is way harder to use Dixie in both of those levels.
Yeah, Cranky does make a lot of the movement more manageable. The roll jump and reactive bouncing that you have to do is actually very difficult alongside the minimal benefits that you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
Another reason why Tropical Freeze is slightly less punishing than running Returns. Not a jab at that game.
I'm quiet. But,
there's a lot of... It's
we
kind of
supposed to have
interesting.
time for donation?
6-4.
Hold on for one level,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we can get to another auto-scroller.
Yeah, sure.
So 6-3. Again, this is the last of the final real gauntlet. Although World 6 is pretty terrifying all in all. 6-3, you want to have Cranky hopefully left over from 6-2. The first checkpoint in the stage is very far into it. You definitely don't want to die for it. It's just awful how much tracking you're gonna have to do. Not to mention that Cranky trivializes a lot of the beginning of this stage, and you won't see a barrel, period, until pretty much near that first checkpoint. And of course, it's a Diddy barrel. Another one of those moments where the developers were like, we need to make Diddy show up a little more in this game.
Diddy has to do something. Sure, we'll throw him in here.
Good idea.
It is nice that he is used underwater so that every Kong gets kind of their little moment to shine a little bit.
That'd have been terrible if he didn't have that jetpack. Jesus.
Big joke that Diddy Kong is actually decent in Smash, so if they ever put Dixie or Cranky in, it would completely unbalance the game. It was even funnier when they had the pre-patch Diddy in Smash 4. It'd be like, dude, if they ever put Cranky in this, it would be over.
Yeah. Alright, donation.
Alright, thank you. We have a $5 donation from Cosmic the Dolphin. Alright, third donation, but I have one important question. If the jetpack breaks, would Diddy fix it with his monkey wrench? But
I hate puns, by the way, so I'm gonna kill you.
Okay, in that case, please don't look at the chat.
Oh my
They're
god.
monkeying around.
Jesus.
Sorry. Next to that, we have a $3.01 donation from Rydog21, labeled, pushing our donation total to $2,100.
Nice. Thank you.
And next to that, we have a
Don't say that.
next to that, we have a $5.04 donation from Fingers to Hand. Am I using the right currency for this, Kappa? And that is all.
The right
Thank
currency.
you so much for your donations.
Thank you. The right currency is Mexican pesos.
So this is the final rocket barrel level in the run. It's also the hardest. We used to make fun of anybody that would die during this in our little weekly races because it is an auto-scroller, but it is legitimately difficult. There are a couple points where you'll see, like, when he goes down an angle, if you get hit going on the top of that or on the bottom of it, there's actually a chance that you can't recover, and you'll just take 2 hits and die immediately.
Yeah, those are the worst. The stages.
Lots of little
all
narrow
in six.
passages. Yeah, it's surprisingly difficult even when you do a bunch. It's always nerve-wracking. I don't think you're ever fully comfortable with this unless you're Goldfish. Take the hit at the very start of the HDQ run. We were so mad at him for that. Oh my god.
The theme of World 6 is that you're actually doing the Donkey Kong Island has been taken over. It's actually stage for stage a play on Donkey Kong Country Returns, where every stage resembles one of the worlds and tries to encompass pretty much at least some elements of all the stages in one stage. And this one being based on the cave world. The cave world was all auto scrollers, so go figure they would make 6-4 in this game an auto scroller stage on its own. True to Return's tradition, though, where you add one hit and nothing more, this stage has no hearts in it whatsoever. So you take that one hit, and that's the only grace that they give you. And that's another thing that makes this stage a lot more terrifying.
That said, Jock has done this many times, so we are having no issue. We have our little snowball section at the end. It's pretty funny because the game treats it like a minecart, but it's like really different. The physics are just weird. I remember dying the first time I did this because I didn't realize it wasn't like just, oh, I need to actually jump this thing a little bit.
I wonder how.
Both of the top world record holders, Michael Goldfish and Cruncha, have both died in this section on their runs.
I believe Spike has as well.
I've died on that section too.
In a run?
Crunch
And
and
a
Goldfish
PB.
got world record while dying on this stage.
This game is free.
Okay, I'm thankful I've never had that one happen in the middle of a run.
So 6-5, Moo.
Oh yes, this stage near and dear to my heart. This is practically why I got into running this game. Was because of goldfish and a recent, well, not recent anymore, but it was recent at the time, a trick that was discovered for this stage. This stage was a Dixie stage, and what you're going to see is there are a bunch of spring pads that you slap, and when you slap off of them, you go flying off of them. Dixie's hair used to carry that momentum and allow you to cross these huge gaps, but it was found by accident one time. Someone questioned, could you bounce off of the snowflakes with Cranky's cane? Cranky's cane is pretty much all-powerful, except for some of the more elemental hazards in the game, like fire and electricity. But apparently he can bounce off these snowflakes. A couple hours in the lab, and they found this stage was entirely doable with Cranky's cane. And this is Cranky Dead is Winter Wonderland, certainly one of my favorite stages in the game. I used to have the world record on this stage for a while, but I painfully lost it.
I don't know what happened there. I've never seen that before. I'm sorry.
Very difficult stage, especially with Cranky.
Oh, that is weird. I've never seen that.
Less ability to save yourself.
This level was still very scary when we used Dixie, but...
Yeah, I see that.
Like, what's that?
Might have been positioning. It might have been when you slapped it. Who knows? This game has so many different things. If you're not keeping on a very regular pace, you'll find a new way to die.
Obligatory. That has never happened before.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping to avoid that. It has happened like 4 times. And this end section here is the hardest in the level, in my opinion. Like the boosts might seem hard, but they aren't. In comparison.
Yeah, the boosts get pretty consistent. Unless you're doing the one that I came up with, which I don't even go for in runs. Too stupid to go for.
You say that?
One cycle.
I sometimes do, and I regret it every time.
Yeah.
Whether or not you keep Cranky at the end, the next stage is pretty consistent on the opening, and you will be switching to Dixie. It is, I would say unfortunately, but it does get the chance to show off Dixie a little bit more. It is one of the cooler stages visually in the game as well. One of the silhouette stages. The other two are hidden away, not on the any % route. These stages first debuted in Returns, very pretty looking stages. So it's cool to get to see it one last time here in World 6.
See it one last time, and also get to listen to the game's theme song one more time, the Snowman's theme.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I love the music in this stage.
Yeah, it's in this stage too.
Yeah, this stage is one of the harder stages. The gaps that you're crossing, even when you have Dixie, are pretty tight. I honestly don't know how you were intended to do them without Dixie.
Yeah. Oh, you steady. No.
Oh, whoa.
My roll didn't come out there. We're going slow.
So, controlling the Kongs is something that's, it comes naturally over time, but there are moments, as he mentioned earlier, where your inputs might get eaten. One of the trickier things that we have to react to as the runners, you could end up assuming that you might be rolling, which you can jump out of any roll, but if you walk off a ledge, you're done for.
Right. In general, usually when we say like, oh, it aided input, the game is fair. Like, it doesn't like just say like, oh, the game lagged. But usually, the most common reason to lose a roll is because you're in a turning animation or something.
Yeah.
DK's turn animation is absolutely horrendous, and you can't roll or do basically anything out of it. So.
Yeah, the game did a good job of making the game look very accurate, pretty fluid. You know, no weird sprite jutteriness, but it does sometimes hinder the runners. Also, shout-outs to that barrel shot, another thing that we got from Time Attack.
Yeah, sorry if you or I die there. That was...
Yeah.
I don't even remember how to do that. The last part is like as intended anymore.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's actually like surprisingly difficult if you don't just walk off to the right.
If you use that barrel anyway, and you somehow don't make the shot, even if you're still alive, that barrel doesn't respawn.
Now we have Frozen Frenzy. This is your factory level. This is another one of those really difficult levels to do, especially at the highest level. Jock, I believe you're going to use Dixie here?
Yeah.
Cranky?
Are you crazy?
We have a Cranky for this level as well that saves about a second. And you make up a bit more time in the next level as well because you don't have to grab them at the start. But it's also incredibly difficult. There are about 2 people that actually know how to do it.
I still don't feel comfortable doing it, even when I do.
This is one of my favorite levels once you learn it. It's kind of there's a lot of little jumps over pits and you're avoiding electricity everywhere. It looks really cool when it's done really well.
When I was going through this stage and learning it for the first time, the moment you lose Dixie, you feel completely defenseless. It's just, it's such an awful stage without that little bit of help that you get from her.
To note, the entire reason we used to Kong Pao at the start if you were scared of the level. That was entirely developed by me because I was lazy and didn't want to fully learn the level. Because if you get hit twice in this level, the run is, you're basically going to die because you have to do a damage boost at the end. So, I ended up being like, oh, I don't want to do that, and I'm like, so what do I want to do instead? Oh, I'll just Kong Pao, which is Dixie's ability where she turns enemies into hearts, so you can get 2 free hearts at the very start of their level.
You did not need the Kong Pao. Very nice, Jock.
Mm-hmm.
Jock's a pro. He won't do that to us.
No. Well, okay.
So coming up on
Oh, I hate this level.
Oh man, one of the worst ways to round up the world is bringing back Randy in a lava stage, and one of the worst things for speedrunners is the main premise on 6.8 is constantly having to wait. So you're at the end of your run, all you want to do is go, 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 and the game's just telling you, hold on there, partner. A lot of the times you try and rush it, you're going to end up losing half a minute, a whole minute. Your run's definitely going to die here if you're not careful.
Yeah, this is the hurry up and wait level. For sure. Just lots. It's a really janky level because you can't just straight up run through it. You can't do anything you really want to do.
And then you throw Rambi.
You have to hold on to Rambi the entire time. It's the only Rambi level that you can't beat without him. So you see all this just weird stop and go. It's so frustrating to do at the end of a speedrun. You're just like, I want to go, I want to go.
It does create a bit of that tension there. You just have to wait on those lava platforms, but the real threat is as we try to rush. As the barrel blast sections, the final barrel blast, the HEDQ barrel,
and the choke race.
Everybody gets really nervous. You'll be on PB pace, and you're trying, you'll be 20 seconds ahead of PB, and like, oh man, I need to get into Frederick just a little bit sooner because the final boss of this game has probably 5 to 10 seconds worth of just straight RNG that you can lose. So you're like, oh man, I need to get in there and save as much time as possible. But if you try to go too fast in this level, you're gonna end up just walking into a wall because you're trying to do something stupid and die. Really fun.
Yeah. Fun fact: Moomoo and I lost the PB pace run on the same day, on the same level, in the same spot on this level.
Do you want me to? I should have been singing for you for this stage, shouldn't I?
Oh yeah. Don't.
Moomoo has a tradition of playing I Need a Hero during this stage. I don't even know what started. He just randomly one day started playing it every time he got to this level.
I just wanted to get my VOD muted, that's all.
Want to make sure nobody can hear you swear when Frederick starts messing up the entire run?
The song is now near and dear to my heart. I tried to make it to that stage for players. But we're now coming up on the end of the run here of Frederick. Oh boy. Not exactly a super fun boss, but he is the last one we gotta do. We gotta take him out.
I was gonna say something first.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna need quiet time when he runs. So
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the bosses take 9 hits in this game. Frederick has additional hits where he jumps into the background, and you have to knock him into the foreground. Those can cost you quite a bit of time. You have to spend a lot of time chasing him down. He does try to fake you out too. His movements can be made predictable, but manipulating Frederick is very difficult, and it will only save you time if you actually manage to get it right on the first couple tries.
Usually you get one free throw on the first and third cycles without actually causing too many issues, but you have to throw it very early for the third to actually not cost time. So you'll see kind of mediocre runners just randomly throw it, grab a second enemy to throw.
Right, so the first time he runs is a bit easier, so the quiet time.
Yeah, the first 3 passes he makes, all very slow speed. The second time around, you get 1 at slow speed, 1 at a slightly faster, and then the third at the final speed, which throws a lot of people off when they're learning this fight or even doing it casually. And Frederick's RNG, he actually gave you good RNG on the first set of jumps, how much time he spends jumping around, and the platforms that he gives you after the second attack wave. Also, how you can save some time, but it's entirely up to Frederick.
Alright, quiet.
You'll notice after that first cycle,
Alright, you can talk.
you'll notice after that first cycle, he turned the entire platform into ice. So he not only has to deal with positioning himself for these 3 hits, he has to also position himself while dealing with ice physics.
He almost slipped off. That kind of that made my heart skip a beat. Jesus.
So now Cranky isn't necessary here. A lot of runners use him just to kind of give themselves a visual indication of their hitbox while trying to hit his back.
Yeah.
Oh, Jock got the good RNG, piss your pants RNG as we call it, because it is about 5 seconds faster than the other platform RNG he can give you, but the platforms are falling down pretty quick, so you gotta react quickly. Make sure you don't fall into lava. 1-hit kill for doing so.
What's that time?
And time.
Well done, man. Yeah, this game is Frederick can be quite the tense last moment there. These hits are pretty punishing to miss. You can easily add almost a full minute for missed cycles.
Thankfully, the last cycle is the least punishing. So if you miss the last cycle, it's, I believe, 20 seconds?
Yeah, 20 seconds for the last cycle, between 40 and 50 for the first 2.
Yeah, it was a very, very good run.
What was the time?
136.28.
Yeah. I blame the technical difficulties there. I died on 4A because of it. I got really distracted, but
Yeah.
I got most of the hard stuff there. Like 4-5, 4-6, 5B, 5-6.
Yeah,
Six.
very, very clean run overall. It's mostly like those little moments. Your time saves are gonna get to the point where it's like just those little optimizations that will add up. It's pretty hard sometimes because you're only saving a small amount of time for a much more difficult trick to execute.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have anything you want to say for to wrap up this final run?
This game is a lot of fun, and I know a lot of people still haven't gotten out and actually gotten the game themselves. It's absolutely worth checking out. A Wii U game to get. It's a game to get the system for, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, that's it there.
Great. Thank you so much for running Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze in this pre-ESA marathon.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was fun, especially as the last run. I hope I did it justice.
Well, with that time, I think you did. We're going to go over to intermission now with some final words from On Two Planks.